The movie begins with a girl named İzmir, and we learn that she is lonely and has no friends, with her phone being her only companion that she never lets go of, to the point where she even uses it during school. One day, the teacher catches her using her phone during class and takes it away from her, so she goes to complain to her father, an officer named Khalil. İzmir tells her father that she feels like an outcast at school and can't seem to make any friends because all her classmates hate her, and that's why she tries to make friends on social media. Her father tells her that the most important thing is that her family loves her and sees her as the most beautiful and smartest girl in the world, and that the people around her simply don't appreciate her worth. When İzmir gets back home, she opens a dating site and finds a message from the person she has been communicating with for months, and in the message, he asks her to sleep. This makes İzmir very upset because she had been waiting for him to talk to her. Right after that, she receives another message from a person named Omar, and they start talking to each other, discovering that they have many things in common, such as feeling lonely all the time. The next day at school, İzmir is surprised when Omar sends her a bouquet of flowers, even though he lives outside of Turkey. When she gets home, she contacts Omar and asks why he sent her a bouquet of flowers, and he tells her it's because he felt she was sad while talking to him and knew that the bouquet would make her happy. They begin to get to know each other, and İzmir learns that Omar lives in a small village in France. She asks him to take pictures of himself and the place where he lives to make sure he's not lying to her, and Omar does as she asks, although he doesn't show his face in the photo. Days pass, and we see that they continue to communicate with each other every day without interruption. And even though İzmir has never seen him, and the distance between them is far, she falls in love with him because he said things to her that no one else had ever said before. And he gave her the love and an attention she had dreamed of all her life. And after 7 months, they talk on the phone for the first time and are both very happy to finally hear each other's voices. One day, Omar asks her to make a video call because he wants to see what she looks like. But İzmir becomes very nervous because she thinks she is unattractive due to the freckles on her face and because she doesn't like her hair. So she puts on makeup, styles her hair, and calls him on video while covering part of her face with her hair. Omar keeps laughing at her because she's shy, and he asks her to move her hair away from her face. When he finally sees her face, he tells her that she is the most beautiful girl he has ever seen in his life, and that he never expected her to be that beautiful. At that moment, a woman enters and calls out to him, so Omar quickly ends the call with İzmir, leaving her very puzzled by his behavior. The next day, İzmir keeps thinking about Omar and starts feeling that he might be lying to her about his name, fearing that he might be deceiving her or just playing with her, even though she has been completely honest with him about everything in her life. Later, İzmir receives a message from a young man named Koray, who tells her that he has been using the same site she uses for 3 years, has been following her for a long time, and would like her to join his group. That night, Omar has a terrifying nightmare and wakes up in a panic. He calls İzmir, but she tells him she no longer wants to talk to him because he lies to her about many things. Omar tells her that his life is very difficult and that there are many secrets in it that are hard for anyone to understand. But he assures her that he is not deceiving her or playing with her because he was extremely lonely before meeting her and always felt there was a hole in his heart. And she was the only person who healed that hole. İzmir becomes very happy hearing this, and afterward, she joins Koray's group of friends. Koray is known for being obsessed with planets and galaxies. The second member of the group is a girl named Merva, and the last member is a guy named Doruk, and Omar also joins their group and becomes friends with them. Although İzmir is very happy in her relationship with Omar, at the same time she feels afraid because the distance between them is huge and they could lose each other, as the idea of them being together seems almost impossible. One day, İzmir calls Omar and asks if it's raining where he is, just like it's raining where she is. He tells her that it is indeed raining, so İzmir asks him to reach his hands out of the window, touch the raindrops, and imagine that they are holding hands. Omar does exactly as she says and keeps imagining that he's holding her hands. Suddenly, İzmir feels sad and tells him that she's afraid of becoming even more attached to him, and she thinks it's better for them to stay away from each other. Omar tells her that her words have come far too late because he's already fallen in love with her and will never allow her to leave him. İzmir explains that in this way, they will suffer in their relationship because of the distance between them, to the point that she can't even touch or hug him. Omar asks her to have hope because he's sure they will meet one day, and she tells him that he's right. The next day, Asmir is talking to Omar as usual until her father's friends arrive and shock her with the news that her father and mother have died in a car accident. She suffers a nervous breakdown, screaming and crying, while Omar is still on the line, hearing everything that happened but not knowing how to help her. Months pass, and we see that Asmir has fallen into a deep depression, barely getting out of bed. Omar tries to reach out to her many times, but she doesn't respond. One day, Asmir meets with her family, and they suggest that she travel to America to continue her education, but she refuses because she wants to stay in Turkey, as it's the only thing that reminds her of her mother and father. One of her relatives tells her that the Turkish armed forces are offering a scholarship to Istanbul University and encourages her to apply because her father always wanted her to finish her studies and excel. Asmir agrees, and after some time, she arrives at the university and is surprised to find Merva there. So she asks her what she's doing there, and she replies that she, Koray, and Doruk met through the scholarship. Asmir then asks her not to tell Omar that she's here. After that, Asmir goes into her dorm room and finds that Omar has sent her many messages, but she decides not to reply. Later, she goes to sit alone in the cafeteria, where she meets a girl named Bus, and they start talking about romantic relationships. Bus asks her if she's in a relationship, and Asmir says she used to be, but broke up with her boyfriend. Bus then asks her why, and Asmir explains that everything changed after her mother and father passed away, and she's no longer the same person Omar fell in love with, and she's afraid she would wrong him by being with her. On top of that, he lives in another country, and it's very difficult for their relationship to succeed. When Asmir returns to her room, she keeps thinking about Omar and realizes she can't stay away from him, so she sends him a message telling him she misses him so much. Omar replies instantly, saying he misses her too. The next day, the university hosts a party for first-year students, and Asmir goes to stand with Koray and his group. A guy named Berk joins them and starts chatting with Asmir because he's interested in her, and unfortunately, Omar calls her at that exact moment. He hears Berk's voice next to her, becomes very jealous, and ends the call. Asmir then notices that Bus looks very unwell, so she asks her if she's okay. Bus says she has stomach cramps, so Asmir supports her to walk to the bathroom, but suddenly Bus starts bleeding and faints. Asmir rushes her to the hospital, where the doctor tells her that Bus had internal bleeding due to a recent abortion she had. Bus is devastated, crying, and ashamed of herself because she didn't want anyone to know about it, so Asmir sits by her side and comforts her. The next day, Asmir learns that the university is offering a scholarship to France, so she decides to apply for it so she can be with Omar. Later, Omar calls Asmir and asks her what she did today. She tells him that she was sitting in the cafeteria with Berk, so Omar gets upset and tells her not to deal with that guy again because he knows from Koray that Berk likes her. That night, Omar calls Asmir, sounding broken, and tells her that he has decided to reveal the secret he's been hiding from her. Omar shocks her by confessing that he once killed someone, telling her that she is such an innocent and pure girl and doesn't deserve to be with someone like him. He also tells her that he loved her more than she could ever imagine because he was so lonely before meeting her, but fate doesn't want them to be together, and he ends the call. Asmir breaks down in tears and tries calling him back, but he turns off his phone. She becomes terrified that he might have harmed himself, so she books the first flight to France to check on him. The moment Omar sees her in front of him, he can't believe it from the joy and hugs her. But she pushes him away and starts hitting him, telling him she was dying of worry and afraid he had hurt himself. Omar keeps apologizing and holds her until she calms down. Then Omar tells her that his father used to always beat his mother, and he was always the one defending her. One day, he couldn't bear to see his mother being beaten anymore, so he took his car and went to a party where he drank heavily. There, he saw his ex-girlfriend arguing with a guy who was harassing her. Omar lost his temper and pushed the guy into a swimming pool. Since the guy was very drunk, he couldn't get out of the pool and drowned. Naturally, Omar's future was about to be destroyed, and he was facing prison, so his father decided to send him to live in France. Omar also changed his name from Ege to Omar, so that if the police ever discovered his real identity, they would arrest him. Asmir feels deeply saddened that he went through such a painful experience. She takes him to stand with her on the balcony so they can watch the rain together, and in that moment, they come close to each other for the first time. Afterward, Omar gives her some of his clothes since she didn't bring any with her, and Asmir feels shy about changing in front of him, so Omar turns his back to give her privacy while she changes. Asmir lies there watching him as he sleeps beside her, feeling so happy that they are finally together. The next day, Omar takes Asmir on a tour of Paris, showing her the Eiffel Tower and all the famous landmarks in the city. They even get matching tattoos on their hands and spend a wonderful time together. That night, They go out to a cafe, and Azmir keeps drinking until she gets completely drunk. Omar watches her fondly as she is drunk because she becomes very sweet. Azmir plays a song loudly on her phone and gets up to dance with Omar, and they become so immersed in each other that they feel as if they are alone in the place, not caring about the people around them. A few days later, Omar takes Azmir to the airport so she can return to Turkey, asking her not to cry because he doesn't like to see her upset and promising that they will meet again soon. The next day, as Azmir arrives in front of the university, a car suddenly appears and runs over her foot. Her classmate quickly carries her and rushes her to the hospital. At that moment, Omar calls Azmir, and her classmate answers the phone, telling him what happened. Omar then speaks to Azmir and tells her that his family's driver will be waiting for her outside the hospital to take her to his family's house, where they will take good care of her until she recovers. Azmir tells him there's no need for her to stay with his family because she doesn't want to bother them. But Omar insists she should not be alone. He tells her he has already explained the situation to his family, and they know she will be staying with them. When Azmir arrives at Omar's family home, she meets his mother, his brother Ali, Ali's wife, and their little daughter Lina. Later, Omar's mother takes Azmir to Omar's room and tells her that no one has entered this room since Omar left. She offers her condolences for the loss of her family, and Azmir tells her she's been afraid to return to her family's house ever since what happened to them because she can't bear the thought of entering the house and not finding them there. Omar's mother advises her to visit her family's home and say goodbye to them one last time. Azmir keeps looking through Omar's childhood photos and is shocked when she finds a picture of him with Bus, revealing that Busi is actually his ex. The next day, Azmir wakes up to find Omar standing in front of her, overjoyed that he came for her. But Omar's father starts yelling at him, warning that being in Turkey is dangerous for him. Omar tells his father that he missed them all so much and just wanted to see them. His father admits he missed him too, but insists he can't risk his future. Omar reassures him that he'll be careful and avoid the police. Afterward, Omar takes Azmir to her family's house so she can face her fears. As soon as she enters, she breaks down in tears, remembering every moment she had with her parents, feeling their absence deeply. A few days later, Omar returns to France, and Azmir decides to keep an eye on Bus to find out her real story. She's shocked when she sees Bus with Ali, Omar's brother, and it looks like he's threatening her about something. When Azmir returns to the dorm, she calls Omar and confronts him about Bus being his ex. She feels Bus only befriended her to come between them. Omar gets upset that she knew this earlier and didn't tell him. Azmir tells him to stop blaming her for everything, explaining that ever since she learned the truth, she hasn't been able to sleep, constantly thinking about Bus, who she believes is the cause of all the bad things that happened to him. Suddenly, Azmir's blood pressure drops and she faints, so her friends rush her to the hospital. A few days later, she returns to the dorm and calls Omar, angrily confronting him for never checking in on her while she was hospitalized. Omar says he was getting updates from Koray, but Azmir says she needed to hear his voice during that time. She accuses him of being just like his father, which deeply hurts him. Omar tells her they should break up and ends the call. Days pass, and we see both of them fall into deep depression after their separation. One day, we see İzmir and her friends filming Ali and Busa while they are standing together, and we learn that Busa became involved with Ali after she broke up with Omar, became pregnant by him, and that he had been blackmailing her over the matter. The narrative then shifts to a flashback of the night of the party that Omar had attended. When Ali found out that Busa was also at the party, he made his way there. Upon arrival, Ali saw his brother pushing a young man into the swimming pool. Ali then approached the pool and continued to hold the young man underwater until he drowned. This was because Ali was jealous of his brother Omar and wanted to frame him for any crime in order to remove him from his life. Busa had witnessed everything Ali had done, but had told no one. The story then returns to the present, with Busa confronting Ali, recounting everything, and asking him why he did it. He told her it was because he loved her and was jealous of his brother for taking her from him. At that moment, the police arrived and arrested him on charges of murder. It is revealed that Busa and İzmir had orchestrated this trap for Ali to expose the truth and have him apprehended. Afterward, İzmir called Omar and told him that his brother was responsible for the death of the young man at the party, recounting every detail. Omar was, of course, shocked by his brother's actions and ended the call. Later that night, Omar called İzmir and sent her a message saying that he still loved her and had been unable to stop thinking about her since their separation, but that he could not return to Turkey because it reminded him of what his brother had done to him. He proposed that she come live with him in France. The film concludes with İzmir's arrival at the airport in France. The moment she sees Omar, she runs to him and embraces him. At last, the lovers are reunited, deciding to spend the rest of their lives together. This marks the end of the film.